Hi, and welcome to another VA's Spotlight session, where we interact with leaders from the industry to get their perspectives on trending topics. I'm Shruti Sood, Business Head VA's Middle East and Africa. So today we have with us Abhishek David, researcher and educator in the field of HR and management, currently working as AVP, Head of Talent Management and Leadership Development at Dubai Islamic Bank. As an HR transformation leader, he enjoys researching and executing significant interventions, resulting in better performance and enhanced systems for achieving higher organizational objectives. Welcome, Abhishek, to the Spotlight series with VAs.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shruti. And thank you, VAs, for giving this opportunity so that we can really see something which is in between practice and research happening. And I'm really glad that I got this opportunity to reach out to the mass at large.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. So tell me something. As an accomplished HR professional with some 17 years of experience, how has the talent landscape, how is the talent landscape shifting basis the future of work?
So, Shruti, my active research around future of work and been working around a very futuristic paper on what has been happening around practice side of things. When we say practice, we're talking about the McKinsey's, Deloitte's, and also the academic side of things, where there's a lot of research which is happening around future of work. There is a shifting land, and that landscape is shifting very, very significantly. When we talk about the shift is happening in terms of multiple facets. When we talk about talent, to start with, there is a she shift in skill evolution. So the skill set, which was primarily required 10 years back or 15 years back, is no more relevant. And with the new age, new automations, AI interventions into multiple tasks, including problem solving, things have been shifting. There has been a shift in the way people do work as well, right? So how do you regulate those emotions across has changed over the course of generations as well, right? So the way my grandparents used to learn was more of a radios and other information, right? And my parents started watching TV. We started learning from computers and books, right? And the subsequent generation is learning through app and through multiple other sources of information. And now there is an information overload as well, right? So what to read and what not to read, what to process, what not to process. And that's where AI and tech is going to create a C-level changes across. There's a change in the way we do work as well, right? So the remote work, hybrid work, also not just the location, but also the flexibility and complexity of work has been changing, right? The newer generation look for more work-life balance. However, we millennials, we believe in hard work. There is locational preferences, right? People can work from anywhere, any place, right? So there are Shopify kind of an organization which allows the complete flexibility. Shopify is a Singapore-based organization, and we can look up to there. How do they manage the whole range of hybrid work? It's by and large an example. So how from a completely office to a range of completely remote is the talent required for you? Maybe this is another significant area to focus on when it comes to development and talent. Also, we are moving more and more towards learning-based organizations. So the skills are shifting. Skills are moving to shrink, and what we are talking about, the continuous reskilling is and upskilling is required in any kind of a job. So like, if I will give you an example of a school, and I will give you an example of students studying in these schools, primarily or colleges, All of these information learning is readily available on YouTube. You go on YouTube, you'll find lectures about everything and anything which you would like to learn. So how how different I am delivering in the classroom, in a school, or in the corporate training, for an example. And that's where more personalization is important. We are talking about gig economy coming into. So organizations are moving from a repetitive task-based approach to tasks which is only required for a specific period of time, and you don't have to hire full-time employees for that. So how does the traditional relationship between employer and employee is no more going to be there once you have these gig economy workers, once you have these skill set based jobs which is coming out to be, and once the job is over, the skills are no more required, right? So how we are moving more towards a task based approach than from a job based approach. So job is not job anymore. It has been divided into tasks, and then the skills is required to do the task. So I would also like to talk a little bit on one specific area, that when we talk of future of work, any talent landscape, or rather the human resource landscape, has three dimensions to it. And this is what comes out from our paper, which was selected by Academy of International Business in a conference proceeding. And we spoke about three dimensions which impacts future of work for every organization, and it's going to impact future of work for any organization. The first quadrant is the employee quadrant. So when we talk about employee, we are talking about the flexibility of employment. We're talking about inclusivity. We're also talking about the location and preferences of the employee, right? Then the second quadrant, which we are primarily talking about, the white quadrant, is the externalities. So it means that organization, team, country, and sometimes region as well. So these economic factors, socio-economic factors, and all of that is on the Y scale is there. And with the kind of with the kind of tech changes which is happening, we thought that the technology is going to be a third dimension. And when we say a third dimension, we are looking at digitization, we are looking at data analytics, we are looking at AI, and all of these factors at some point in time have like these three quadrants keep making those small cubes, and each of those cubes areas are nowadays, and in every research, in every practice, in every paper, in every case study, at least one of these intersection of cubes are mentioned. And as an organization, if we need to prepare, we need to look for all these three quadrants and then look at where we stand now to where we need to go in the future. And that's where all of this plays a key role in terms of preparing us to move forward with future of work. So this is my take about the shift in talent landscape, because the business is shifting, because there is no more traditional businesses, because the skill is evolving, because the work is evolving, and because the learning by itself is evolving.
Absolutely. And I think the references that you shared from a school, the approach being taken to organizations like Shopify, of course, that just talks about where are we heading in terms of future of work or building future leaders. Abhishek, can you also elaborate on the HR strategic initiatives that you have steered? Such as, I was looking up your LinkedIn and I saw people strategy, emiratization strategy, or typical ESG agenda for HRs. So what in your perspective, how do these initiatives contribute to organizational success?
Any of such initiatives or strategy which we build in and I work upon or I write about when it comes to research is, I always look at individual perspective. So every individual in the organization is different, and every individuals have different needs to cater to, right? A lot of time we approach that individual as an individual product perspective when it comes to HR, whether it is for ESG, whether it is for emiratization, whether it is for people strategy perspective. We never treat that individual as one identity who needs to look at all of these various aspects. So that's why holistically my people strategy will cover the emiratization as well the ESG agenda across. And when we talk about people strategy, the center of it has to be every individual of the organization. And that is what is perspective when we see the future of any strategy is more and more individualistic, because we might create multiple strategies across, and if there is no linkage to the capability within the organization, to the values of the individuals in the organization, the whole linkage is of a strategy to execution is going to be a failure. So hence the preparation to execution of these people strategy, emiratization, ESG strategy is a better integration to the existing processes, the better integration to the existing culture, the better integration to the existing values. And hence, however, the people strategy perspective, our focus is around, since if we talk about the industry by and large, banking would have never thought fintech will overtake until the Bitcoin was a big hit in the market, right? And the sea change, the amount of money which is there in Bitcoin is bigger than the largest bank in the world, right? So what we are talking about primarily is a tech enablement or a banking to a fintech transition, or maybe there is no transition required. Maybe banking won't remain the same what it is there today, right? What is the future skill set required? Do we have that right now? So right now, most of the industry, including banking, is primarily only looking short term in terms of digitization. So what we are seeing right now is the digital as tip of the iceberg, which means that I have the data, I will do the analysis, I will make some predictive models around it, and I will then decide on the things forward, right? Now moving from predictive modeling to machine automation, to use of generative AI, wherein the AI is going to take the decision. You no more have to take the decision. Your model is done. You put the decision yes or no into that, and you can automate the whole process in line. Like for an example, Industry 4.0 talks about digital twins. That means how Amazon, before launching a product in the market, they make their digital twin and run it in a simulation wherein they invite customers to buy the product. And it's all running in the simulation with the existing data which they have of the various products, that who are my customers, what were their buying habits, how often they were buying. And they run the same simulation on an experimental product, and they see whether it is going to be successful or not. How many of us would think about an organization structure? For an example, in a sales team, if there is 100 staff selling 100 cards, maybe 100 in quantity, like for a month, if I will increase that staff number to 50 or to 200 or add 50 or 200 more, what is my prediction of adding a new product or adding a new customer? And this is where a digital twin or a data-based approach to OD or design could work through, right? So I'm just showing up some elements of the future skill requirement is going to be completely different on what it is. But right now, to start with, how are my HR processes currently going through? Is my strategy integrated to that? Is my HR processes amongst themselves integrated or not? Because a lot of time within HR also there are process silos across. So the recruitment is running completely separate way and methods of hiring and acquiring versus the performance management. Do my recruiter ever went to the performance guys to ask that I recruited 200 people in last year, what was their average performance rating? None of the recruiter does it, and trust me, this is something which is very, very basic of HR integration, which is possible, right? A recruiter going and asking, is my hiring quality or not, right? Forget about first year performance. Do we go back and ask that year before last I hired 200 people? what is their second year rating average? Do you find a bell curve around it, or do you find more higher ratings around it? And this is the basics. This is the basics of integration I'm talking about. So running siloed HR units is another area, and wherein an integration within HR processes are required. And there's a lot to happen around data, definitely, because all of this, what I'm talking about, is getting automated. Soon to be, organizations won't have process and data related functions. So functions, those who label data, those who enter data, and those who correct data, like operations and other stuff, won't be there, because everything will be done by machine. When we talk about emiratization strategy, when we talk about localization, nationalization strategy, in this part of the world, it's very, very targeted pool based development. Sometimes these pool based developments are generic, like you take a pool size of all the new hires at the entry level, and you prepare them to move forward, and you prepare, and then from them you select who are my key talents to further go out. So from this, uh, always identifying talent is something which is a key to this strategy, because if you hire 100, you might not able to retain all 100, right? My focus should be my top 40 in that 100, and who we want to retain, who we want to grow in the organization. Because that churn at the junior most level is going to be always higher when it comes to any nationalization strategy. There are some softer aspects also which we deal with when it comes to talent, coaching, mentoring, and developing these individuals. Is primarily um, is also the stereotyping approach which has happened in this part of the world, and bringing that equity for both expats and national is something as an ongoing challenge when it comes to driving the development across. We at our organization, and in my past organizations as well, we were very successfully able to do it, because uh, it's all about giving the equity, and also including everybody at the center stage, or on the table, but also creating that level of belongingness, that I'm listening to you and you are listening to me, is something very, very important. And I think I think when it comes to emiratization or any nationalization strategy, it is important that we drive it more from a softer aspect, and that's where mentoring, coaching, role modeling approach, all of that plays a critical role, wherein an individual then will be able to uh, get bonded, get feel belonged to the organization to move forward. From a sustainability part of things, this is primarily part of my thesis as well. That uh, um, my research thesis into that, how HR processes drive sustainability. There's a large scale of green HRM publications which has happened over the years. That how do we contribute as HR, and as more and more um, sustainability is becoming important for the organization, I think HR is becoming the custodian of sustainability in US and in Silicon Valley nowadays. So structurally, what we are seeing is that uh, who is driving the primary agenda of sustainability? It should be HR, because it's mostly human driven. We are talking about diversity, inclusion. We were talking about well-being. We will be talking about women in leadership. We will be talking about gender equality. We will be talking about social development. We'll be talking about youth and women development, one of the SDG goals. So we can continue to talk about these SDG goals, but most of the SDG goals, if it comes to organizational level execution, is primarily HR's responsibility, and that's why it's key for HR agenda to bring that in. There are documentations across from UNSDG, that how do you translate all of this into organization. From ISO side, which is primarily the process-driven organization, they have provided matrices that how do you measure HR matrices to link it to SDGs. So basically, from a reporting perspective as well, from a showcasing perspective, every HR should have an ESG agenda across to move forward with such practices in the organization, right from developmental, diversity, inclusion, and well-being.
Understood. In fact, you've shared some insights for some of the questions that I had prepared for the later part of the interview, but I'll still go ahead and ask in case of very specific perspectives come in review. So, if I look at the evolving digital landscape, which is primarily characterized by the current shifts like Industry 4.0, as you mentioned, or some of the sustainability initiatives, or even if I look at the increase of learning platforms, which is really fundamentally altering the demand for skills as well. So, how do you perceive these digital advancements shaping the skill requirements for the future workforce?
So, I'm going into another discussion in the subsequent week, but would just like to light upon a point that if you remember, I gave an example of information availability and decision making. So what was available for our grandparents was only radios to get that information, and that radio used to come twice a day, and they used to wait for that time to get the news. Then came our parents' age, wherein the television came into existence, and they used to wait twice a day to listen to the news, which used to come on a television, and to process it, right? And then came our age. My age, I'm a millennial. So millennial age, wherein primarily we have seen that getting a book or getting information as difficult as to an era wherein everything is available on a click, right? On a click of a button, on a browsing of a website, or on a GPTs to be looked upon, or a prompt on a AI website, right? So so much of information available in our fingertips, and what is right to what is wrong, and what information would provide us right information, or what we will interpret and analyze to take the right decision, right? So there is an information overload. A research has said that our brain is enabled to process certain set of information, some size of information. But since the generation, the human evolution is only about how much you can process through your brain, right? And right now also, how much we can process through our brains is like increase in screen time, and all of that is definitely there because you're reading more, you have more source. But are you getting the right information? And are you able to interpret it in the right way? So getting the right information might also in the near future will be mitigated, as the GPTs cannot be trusted is another question and another discussion to manage. But it will work out to be, as more and more data will come, you will get more and more accurate information. So that is going to be get sorted in the near future. But our processing of information will still remain the same. However, it will be still required that what sources are we using? Are we getting the right information relevant to make the decision, or are we just shooting the dart in the dark? So this is going to be key, that where we are looking, what are we looking? So the digital skill setness, which is digital skill set around tech savviness, is going to be key. Preparedness for tomorrow is going to be key when we look at organizational perspective. So me working in a traditional bank, core business area is banking, right? But do we able to succeed if we will be able to continue in the same direction? No. And that's where comes in the innovation. That's where comes in offshoot of the business unit, which is the digital banking approach, right? So every organization has to become ambidextrous, which we call it in academic terms, holding on to your core business and developing an offshoot around what is coming in the new age. Because your core business gives a good ground, gives a good root for the new tree to be built upon. There's a term in academics, we call it as dynamic capability. And a dynamic capability is nothing but the differentiator between an organization A and B, wherein the organization A is the top of the leader, and a B is always trying to compete and get that spot. So A has certain set of capabilities, which is making uh, A always successful and top of the market. So maintaining that dynamic capability of the core businesses and also driving digital changes. That's where you make your competitor gap larger and larger and continue to grow in the market. So pushing the boundaries further. A sustainability focus is something which is quite natural, and I think where we are seeing this world, seen Dubai facing major storm situation which has ever happened in 15, 16 years, or I think beyond that, we all see that at some point in time, we need to give back to the society. We need to give back something to the environment, to this world, to our next generations to come. So, organizational focus towards sustainability is a non-negotiable factor at this moment, and I think I think there's a genuine approach required to follow through, and from everybody, not just organization, from employee, from the organization, from the vendors, from the economy, from the society, from all perspective. I mean, there's a genuine effort required to align ourselves.
Thank you, Abhishek. One last question before we come towards the end. So, in what ways do you believe coaching and mentoring solutions do actually contribute in building the capabilities for the future work? And what kind of specific strategies have probably you would have implemented or observed in this regard?
A very, very interesting point, and something quite different is that um, I mean, our contents around the courses, our delivery methods for corporate learning and all of that is kept aside, because I mean, when I look at classroom element, when I look at synchronous or asynchronous element, there's a lot which is already available, which is a lot available free of cost. There's a lot available classroom books and all of that, right? So the people have the free access to that. And there's one thing which I don't have, and a lot of us don't have access to, is a coach or a mentor, right? Uh, so if you're moving in a certain direction, someone has taken a similar journey, and how they have done it is something a mentor could teach us, right? In my life, in my own life, a sea change shift has happened wherein uh, I was always seen as an good HR professional, but to become a HR professional who will make business successful, I was assigned a mentor, a business leader mentor, and that has given me that 1 year journey of my mentoring has given me a different perspective of looking at things from a business perspective. Everything needs to be looked at from a business outcome perspective. Even if you are in HR or any other function, looking at things from a business perspective. So whatever we spoke today is from a business perspective, how we are moving forward, right? Whether in terms of talent, organization, skill set, tech development, and all of that. And that what comes in when we go into these kind of a mentoring and more one-on-one development, because then it becomes more individualized to me. Um, Coaching perspective, I always feel that all of us need coach. I needed coach at certain period of time to drive me to basically uh, to basically crystallize the thoughts which I have. So we have a lot of thoughts, we have a lot of ideas, we feel down. And both on the professional side. So nowadays the coaching is also multifaceted, right? So you have performance coach, you have career coach, you have life coach, and basis the need of the staff, basis the need of the organization, there is a C level, there's a large scale requirement of a coaching and mentoring approach to be changed and to be fit and within the organization. Maybe a model which is more possible, like VAs, like you guys are doing, more tech enabled model, more capability building based model, more skill building based model, which helps organization to become self-sustained. And and I think this is something which is not going to go from the learning piece. We might not see learning and development professional, but we will always see coaches and mentors getting something and the other to move forward with. because teachers, and your trainers and your facilitators, all these things are readily available. But coaching and mentoring is always individualistic. I don't think that anything is going away from that field. So people moving away from more formal mentoring to informal mentoring, more peer level coaching has been coming into picture. Also more system driven. So as you have more tech driven coaching approach, skill building approach, and also enablement to the whole coaching culture is something which everyone is looking at. And hopefully, as we are moving more and more towards tech enablement, more and more towards individualistic approach, developing an individual from inside out, um, this is always going to be the key. For the future ready organization, coaching mentoring will remain to stay, will remain for developing a sustainable success for the organization. This is what I believe.
Thank you so much, Abhishek, for your insightful perspectives. It was wonderful catching up with you for this session, and I look forward to having some more interesting conversations with you going forward.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thanks for your time, and hopefully I was able to add some thoughts around where are we heading in terms of future of work, talent, coaching, and mentoring. So